A freedom of information request by the Free Speech Union has found that police forces across the country aren't training their officers in Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which protects free speech. The report claims officers are only being taught about gender ideology. So here to discuss this report, which is called The Urgent Need to Teach Police About Free Speech, is Toby Young of the Free Speech Union. Welcome, Toby. So, could you tell me about the Freedom of Information request? Did you put it in on a hunch that this is the kind of thing you would discover?
Yeah, well, it was actually the idea of Carrie Clark, our research officer. She sent FOI requests to all 41 police forces in England and Wales to ask them what kind of training on the legal protections there are for free speech that they receive in the course of learning how to be police officers.
Yes.
And the answer was really shocking. Several of the police forces responded by sending us what they were training by way of equity, diversity and inclusion, as though that was a response to our question about Article 10. Clearly didn't know what Article 10 was. Many of them just didn't provide any training at all on Article 10. Those that did only provided about one line worth of training. So we concluded that of the respondents, 78% of police forces said that their police officers received either no training on Article 10 or an absolutely negligible amount. When we also asked them about whether they were training their officers in equity, diversity and inclusion, the floodgates just opened. 56% claimed it was embedded all the way through the training they provide their officers. 4 of them said they provide so much EDI training, just to respond to our request, would exceed the cost limit of FOI requests. 14 said that it was embedded in their EDI training like a golden thread running all the way through it.
Well, at least they're being poetic about it.
I guess they're being poetic about it, but it was extraordinary.
Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? Because increasingly it seems as though there is actually a conflict between EDI training and free speech, almost as though if you prioritise the ideology that sort of underlies EDI training, you are actually against free speech. Is that right?
I think that is right. It is absolutely in conflict with free speech. They think, having been taught by Stonewall and mermaids and gendered intelligence, one of the forces was doing training centred around the gender-bred person, which distinguishes between, your anatomical sex and your gender expression.
Your soul.
Your soul.
Right.
Your gendered soul.
Yes.
They're taught to really value and respect whatever these minority groups, these identity groups, hold sacred. So they really do think it's their job to protect trans rights activists, for instance, from hearing hurty words. And if someone wears a T-shirt saying woman equals adult human female, or if they say on Twitter that they don't think trans women are women, the police will now go round to their house, threaten them with arrest unless they come down to the station to have a conversation about it, and will often record non-crime hate incidents against their names, which show up on an enhanced criminal record.
So, I mean, it would be one thing, wouldn't it, if they were trained that, if someone is attacked for being gay or for being trans or whatever, you address that and deal with it because that's against the law, that's fair enough. But being offended, the idea that someone's their feelings are hurt because of words that other people have said, I mean, that's just a complete leap, isn't it?
It's a complete leap. And not only are they interpreting the law, whereby they think they're obliged to record non-crime hate incidents against people's names if they've said something politically incorrect that an activist group has complained about. And the Free Speech Union calculates that about 250,000 NCHIs have been recorded against people's names.
Non-crime hate incidents.
Non-crime hate incidents since 2014. So that's an average of about 66, 67 a day. I mean, you wonder why, when you get burgled or your car gets broken into, the police don't come round. It's because they're far too busy policing our tweets to police our streets. My advice, if you do get burgled, Andrew, when you call up the local police station, say that the burglar, in addition to trampling all over your most treasured possessions, defecating on your carpet, urinating in your sink, in addition, he spray-painted trans women aren't women on the wall. You'll have 5 officers round there and a helicopter within about 30 seconds.
I mean, you paint a hell of a picture there, Toby. But, is it possible, would it be conceivable that we could actually embed free speech training into the police in the way that they have done with EDI training? I
think they're going to have to, because Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, issued this new code of practice about the recording and retention of non-crime hate incidents and advised the police for the first time to be mindful of the legal protections for free speech, both Article 10 in the European Convention on Human Rights and also our common law protections for free speech. She says the police have got to be mindful of this and use their common sense and not just chalk up these borderline criminal record against someone just for being politically incorrect. But the problem is, how can the police be mindful of the laws protecting free speech and balance them properly against the need to protect minority groups from harassment and intimidation if they don't know anything about free speech, if the only training they receive is all on one side of the aisle?